Hi, welcome back.
So today I'm going to be continuing talking about my journey into Prudhoe Bay. In the first part, I did talk about how I had biked on the Dalton Highway and I had come across a herd of caribou. That was definitely one of the most surprising parts of like all my travel experiences that I've ever had. Um, so I really wanted to talk about that. And today I'm going to be talking about kind of my trip into the more industrial part of Prudhoe Bay, kind of like the second part of that journey. So basically, I continued biking north into Prudhoe Bay. I saw all these signs about like approaching these industrial areas. And so that was kind of the introduction. I kept biking north. I wanted to do kind of like this loop around Prudhoe Bay, around this industrial area. And so I started biking like the first part of the loop. I passed by a lot of the like the oil camps, like the actual camps where a lot of the oil workers were put up. All these different oil companies that are there, like Shell, Halliburton, whatnot. They each have like their own like camp where like the workers working for that company live. And from my research, I believe inside these camps, like they offer all the meals. They have like exercise facilities. Supposedly they're pretty nice. But obviously, since I'm not an oil worker, I didn't get the chance to actually go inside any of these camps. But looking from the outside, they're very harsh, obviously, due to the climate there, especially in the winter. I was going there in June, so it wasn't really that, like, it wasn't cold per se. It was a little bit cold. Like, the lake was, like, still partially iced over, but it wasn't, like, cold, cold. But, like, obviously, in like, the winter time, it gets extremely, extremely, extremely cold, being, like, the northernmost area of the United States, so. But yeah, anyways, I biked. As I biked, there were a lot of these like trucks passing me by, industrial machinery, and like kind of like every time like a truck would pass by, I would like pull over to like make sure that like obviously I didn't get run over, and like the road is like pretty narrow and gravelly, so like just to as an extra precaution, I would just like stop biking, like pull to the side, and they pass me, and then I continue biking, stuff like that. Anyways, as I turned into like the more industrial area, I one thing that struck me was the level of things that were just strewn around. It didn't seem as if there was a huge level of containment for a lot of what I was seeing. Kind of like the pipeline was there, and obviously like the pipeline itself is contained, but like a lot of the machinery and ancillary things that I saw around were just kind of like strewn about, and I kind of wonder like what would happen if caribou passed through, like how does this have to do with like um, the other nature that might be around there. as I approached the main inn, which is like where people that are visiting Prudhoe Bay might stay, they don't really have too many inns. They have a few, but as I approached one of the main ones in like the center of town, um, right across from it is this huge, like, kind of like murky, grimy looking lake. It didn't look good to me. Like, obviously, like, it was like murky. Who knows what substances are in there? And then I saw this sign as well that's like, oh, extremely toxic. Like, um, do not like, I guess, like touch or swim in or whatnot. And obviously humans can read that, but again, like, how does this affect like the other Arctic wildlife, and like would they be exposed to these toxic substances in this just like open lake? There's no fences, no nothing. It's not like a contained landfill or anything. It's just like an open lake in like the center of this industrial area, where like humans would stay, like in an inn, like right across from it. Murky, grimy water was one of the like themes of my visit to Prudhoe Bay. Like throughout Prudhoe Bay, there was so much just like this murky, grimy water, and it wasn't just like mud. It was like be some like weird color and stuff like that, and it really and it would be like connected to like these industrial pipes and stuff, and so that was something that really made me wonder like what level of containment is there for these sort of things. Anyways, I continued my way around the loop. I did pass, I think, like their whatever services that the municipality had. Obviously, there's no like kids really that stay there because it's just like oil workers that like return home to like where their families might be. So there is no school or anything, but I believe there was a post office that I didn't pass, but I believe there is a post office. I think I passed um, like a fire brigade or whatnot. Anyways, so I passed some of these things, um, but um, but like that kind of just made up a very small part of the town. The rest of it was this industrial area. As I continued around, I did pass another industrial area on my right, which had like these big signs that were like "Do not enter due to like radioactive exposure," stuff like that. But like the gate was still open. Like I could have entered if I wanted to. A caribou could enter. Just some other like Arctic wildlife could enter if they wanted to. You know, so it seemed very open, and it that was like the one thing to me is like, sure, I realize that like these things are necessary for oil extraction, but the level of containment and the level of care with which these things are placed could be better. And it's not like it's an Arctic wasteland. It's not like zero things live in this area, right? Like there are like thousands and thousands of caribou which had passed by just a few miles to my south, um, just a few hours before I was in this industrial area. There are a lot of other wildlife in this area, and so I think it's important for oil companies to recognize that and not just treat the Arctic as like this wasteland, which is the impression I completely got. There were additional signs. I think one was like spill cleanup or something. Yeah, there was a lot of things like that, and that's kind of one thing that really struck me. But anyways, I finished going around the loop, and I started heading back to the airport. By this point, I was really, really, really tired, having biked like 10 miles north and south, so like 20 miles plus like 5 miles around this loop. I was so tired. So I just took a few more like panoramas of the area. I took a panorama of Lake Colleen, which is like the main, I guess, like central lake in Prudhoe Bay. Yeah, anyways, so I got a few more shots, and then I headed back to the airport, packed up my folding bike, folded it up, put it in the bag, checked it in for my flight, and left. Yeah, so those are kind of my impressions of Prudhoe Bay. Um, on the way out, there was really good views of the Arctic Ocean. So my flight back to Anchorage wasn't nonstop. It did have a stop in Utqiagvik, which is the northernmost community in the United States. I did visit that later as well, and so I'll post another video about my experience in Utqiagvik. But on the way from Prudhoe Bay into Utqiagvik, there were really good views of the Arctic Ocean as well. So I'm going to attach some of those here as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. As always, let me know if you have any thoughts on what I discussed in this video. Please do comment below and or message me if you have any thoughts, whether they're differing, the same, kind of maybe parallel, or completely different. I'm really interested in knowing kind of how other people view this issue and whether or not, having viewed this video, you developed either the same or a different perspective. So definitely let me know. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. Bye.